Welcome to the You Are a Force podcast channel, your go-to space for real stories, fearless dreams, and unstoppable women rewriting the rules. And the force behind this podcast. Here is your host, Binoli Botadara.
Hi everyone, welcome to You Are a Force, where we celebrate women who are reshaping industries and rewriting culture with every move, which is so bold and so fierce. I'm your host, Binoli Botadara, and today we are flipping the script on hair, joined by a woman who did it first, the stylist who transformed Bollywood's look with the movie Dil Chahta Hai, and the trailblazer behind India's premium salon brand, BBlunt. She's a magic hands behind some of India's iconic faces like Shah Rukh Khan, Hrithik Roshan, Preeti Zinta, and many more. And she is also a founder of vibrant wellness and gut health brand called Gutsy. She's named among Vogue's 100 most influential women and Forbes India's most powerful women. And she proves that the creativity without boundaries and authenticity without apology is a force unstoppable. So it's my absolute pleasure to invite someone who is not just an inspiration to me, but everyone else, who is watching this. So get ready to be inspired, entertain, and learn some hair tips you will never get to learn in any magazines, TikTok, or Instagram reel, I promise you. So please join me in welcoming phenomenal one and only Adhuna Bhabani. Adhuna, thank you so much for being on You Are a Force.
Thank you for having me, Binoli. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is so amazing. This is so surreal. I'm going to tell you this because I used to come to Bombay. So I'm born and brought up in Ahmedabad, but I used to come to Bombay when I was growing up just for the haircut. And I used to literally make trip for that very reason. And I remember coming to BBlunt continuously for almost every year before I moved to before I moved to Bombay. And I have gone to BBlunt town, Bandra, everywhere, and from Avan contractor to Rohan to anyone and everyone you can think of. And every point in time, I first tried booking appointment with you, but either you were on a shoot, or you were busy, or maybe I was not ready to splurge so much. It could be any of the above. But when I reached out to you, and I was like, I had to tell you this, that maybe one day I get to actually meet. I mean, I get an opportunity to meet you in person, and maybe you can do my hair. But this is like a sudden moment.
It's always really nice for me to hear stories like this because it's funny because that's obviously my connect with everyone. It's through their hair and through the brand and the brand that we built for so many years. And I come across more than ever so many people who say, "Oh, we were clients of your brand for so many years," and it's a very lovely, warm, fuzzy kind of feeling. So thanks for saying that. And I'm glad that you were happy, obviously, with your hair and that you kept coming back to our brand. So yeah, thank you.
It was amazing. You created something which was so magical, and it was like going to literally a therapy every time I walked into a salon. And then I came out, feeling so nice. And when you look at yourself like, oh my God, you have that moment. But yeah, it's been fantastic. And Adhuna, I'm going to take you back to your days in the UK. So just at 17, you won the UK Junior Hairstyling Championship, which is amazing. And then you left your British home and landed in Mumbai with nothing but just a pair of scissors and ambition. And you didn't even know the language. So take us to the memory lane where how did you actually decide to do that, something like this, which is so like bold. And how did you completely, immerse into the new culture, unfamiliar terrain, or I can say that the conversations which really made you who you are today and maybe the person you are today?
So I think there was a sort of pause in my career,
Okay.
which is why I was working at the time I was 25 years old. I was working with Wella in the UK. And I had decided, I'd been headhunted by a company that I always aspired to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered me a job. And so there was this 3-month gap in between me finishing my time at Wella and joining the new company.
Okay.
And so I decided to just throw caution to the wind. And yes, I came to visit India for not the first time, this was the second time in my life that I'd visited India. And it was a complete sort of phenomenon to me. You know, I didn't really know much about India at all, though my dad was from India. So that way I do have Indian roots. It was on a whim completely. I tend to be a little bit like that. All right. I was a bit more like that when I was younger, a little bit more sensible now. But you know, it was a time in life where I could sort of throw caution to the wind and take a risk. And I was prepared to do that. My mom was always extremely supportive of me, my brother, my sister, all of us doing what we wanted to do. I think because when she was growing up, she didn't have those kind of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so she felt like traveling the world was like the best thing you could do, you know? So she really was very supportive of that. So I came to India. I literally didn't know anyone in Bombay. I very quickly sort of found a friend group, and I literally came here with my scissors, as you said, a backpack, and 500 pounds.
Oh my God.
So I very quickly realized that I needed to find a job.
Yeah.
Because the money was running out.
Sure.
So I was looking around at different places. I ended up working in a 5-star hotel salon. And that is where I met a gentleman called Rafiq Syed, who is a photographer. He was a fashion photographer, very well known in his field at that time. And he was very sort of aware, or very liked to do his hair. So he'd heard that I was there, and he came as my client to the salon. And we got chatting, and it turned out that he was actually the first person to give me an opportunity to sort of work in the fashion industry. I went and I showed my book of work with him, and we first did a sort of like a trial run. He wanted to see the kind of work that I could do. Okay. And then we've worked together now for like over 30 years. So, you know, very instrumental in introducing me, Rafiq was, to the industry. And yeah, I've never looked back, I don't think. In those days, you know, being in the UK, it had always been my dream to shoot for the cover of Vogue, work with, you know, the David Baileys of the world, and that was my ambition. That was what I thought for me at that time, was like, I would really have made it in fashion if I could do the cover of Vogue. Anyway, that my trajectory changed because I was never again worked in the UK. British Vogue was obviously, you know, it's a really amazing big platform, and I never made it there. But I made it to Indian Vogue, and worked with them a lot. And I worked in fashion, I worked in advertising, I worked basically freelancing until L'Oreal opened their doors, their professional division in India.
Okay.
And I joined them as as an educator. Mm-hmm. And with L'Oreal, I traveled the length and breadth of India, meeting hairdressers all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me an incredible insight um, into the industry here
Mm.
in India. And again, I think I have never really looked back. I think what it was a great time to be here in this industry. It was just evolving.
Yeah.
The hairdressers were super keen to learn new things and to learn about new techniques and things that were happening in the Western world. And in those days, we didn't have the internet. We didn't really have that much,
True.
We didn't even have mobile phones then. So it was literally word of mouth, fashion magazines, maybe like an MTV was kind of, the only thing we really sort of had here. So, so that's how I came here. I don't know if I'm rambling on, but I think I've answered your question.
No, it was amazing. It took us on the journey, I could totally imagine how amazing it is. And it was just meant to be, right, for you. It was written in your stars. And
I think so. There's an affinity that I feel to India. I've made some incredible friends like family. And I've really had an incredible run here, an incredible career. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. And speaking of India, and when you, with your brother, you started Juice Salon in
Yes,
1998, and later
that's right.
you rebranded that as BBlunt in 2004. But, behind the glam headlines and everything you said, the stats suggest that 60% of the new salons, when they open up, in 3 years' time, they close and they shut down. So what were those? What's that unsexy, truly difficult moments, or any particular years you had, and then you thought that I cannot do this, but what was that force which actually pulled you back?
I think I've always been a big believer in hair. It's my passion. It always has been. In school, I was not one of the very studious types. I was definitely more into the creative subjects, and that was where I excelled. It was definitely not maths and science. So it was almost, like you said, written in my stars that I would work in a kind of profession where I could use those skills.
Right.
And when I found hairdressing, and I had an absolutely fantastic mentor, his name is Tony Connell, and he continues to be a friend and an inspiration to this day. He inspired me to just really go for it with everything I had. And that spirit stayed in me. He was such a generous mentor that it also inspired me to mentor others in that same way.
I love that.
And I think that passion was the X factor. Because you are right. There are many hurdles that you come across along the way, no matter how big or small your business is. I think just in life, there are always hurdles, and it's how you handle those, those ups and downs. And I think, my mom is a very resilient person. She's somebody who's, led us by example of going through tough times and coming out winning. So having those, that blood running through my veins, and obviously my brother, who was my partner in crime all along the way. There is we always had this great trust in each other, and when we decided to go into business together, we sort of shook hands and said, okay, I'll handle the creative aspect and you'll handle the business. And that was literally what we did throughout.
Amazing.
So for many years, I said that he cashed in on my talent. And it's a standing joke in our family. Yeah. But it's not true. It's actually not true. My brother's also quite a force to be reckoned with, and he himself learned how to cut hair. We taught him how to cut hair, and he became a hairstylist. Okay. He had no real interest in becoming a hairdresser, but what he did have an interest in was being able to lead as an employer the team that he was employing. And it was again another very sort of powerful message to give to the team that was working with us, that this guy is not a hairdresser by profession, but he's learned how to do it so that he can understand and have empathy with you. So I think that, coupled with a fantastic team that joined us, some brilliant people who stayed with us for many, many years, and having my brother by my side was the sort of, that was the wind beneath the wings, if you like.
Yeah, I love that, because I know it's never a one person's victory, because there's so much happening behind the scenes. So I'm really on it, and I totally understand. We're all our mothers, daughters or mothers' versions, and they actually. My mother has always been like a supernatural force in everything I've done, and then. Because while I was growing up, I've only heard no, 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 like 1 million times. And then she would actually, this is the reason I named also as a force, because she would always tell me, if anyone can do it, it's you, because you're strong, you're a force. And that just belief actually just unconsciously also make you so resilient, which you don't even realize, because that's what you've seen it, right? While growing up. So no, I totally understand. And I'm going to move to my favorite part of this conversation, which is Dil Chahta Hai, because it's one of my favorite films. But that movie,
mine too.
it's amazing. It's my stress buster. Must have seen like more than 100 times. But speaking of that, it was a cultural reset for Bollywood, and it was like the first time we saw the hairstyling like this in Bollywood ever. And it was from the very edgy looks of Amir Khan to Saif Ali Khan to Akshay Khanna and even Preeti Zinta, right? So did you realize that you were actually about to spark hair revolution, or did you, like, what was the journey and the process like when you were actually creating that vision? And also, I want to know that you were very young and you were not as popular as you are today, and they were all like huge stars, at that point in time. And did you ever feel intimidated when you entered those rooms?
No, I didn't feel intimidated. There's something that I must sort of tell you, which is a little bit of background first before I answer the rest of your question. But at the time of Dil Chahta Hai, I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
I was expecting my first baby. And my colleague and business partner, Avan Contractor, was the one who actually worked on the sets on behalf of our brand and created all the looks. So I was, of course, in collaboration with Avan, and we ideated about everything together. But I have been saying this for years, because people always give me credit for this film. But it was really her. It is her that deserves the credit. Her name is in the credits. She was on set. But yes, we did ideate and we did work together on the looks and we created them along with the rest of the team. You know, there was not just us, but there was the makeup department, the wardrobe department, the directors department, and you know, everything came together really beautifully in that film. And I think it stems from an openness that everyone that came together in that film seemed to have. Looking back, it could be that, you know, everybody was like, without sort of having any expectation around it, everyone was doing their best. Yeah. And they believed in what it was all about. Each individual that brought their talent to the table had something very special to offer. From all of the actors who were involved to Farhan, obviously, who was, you know, leading the whole show. Yeah. And it was like a coming together of forces, if you like. Yeah, we didn't realize it. I don't think any of us realized it at the time. But the people who'd been, I mean, and that's down to Excel Entertainment. They brought the talents to the table. Amir Khan obviously is in a, you know, a league of his own and has brings something very, very special to every project that he works on. He was the most open book of any actor I've ever met or worked with regard to his look and feel for this project. And the goatee was his idea.
Really?
Yes. We were in the salon doing the preparation and, you know, we'd obviously sat and we'd mulled over the ideas. The kind of looks that Avan and I decided to create were sort of based on what we were into at the time. It was work that we were doing in our salon. It was not something that we sort of said, we're doing this especially for this. Of course, we did our best work on that film. You know, it was not like we specifically went out of our way to say we're going to do something really different. It wasn't. We were doing what we loved. We were doing the kind of haircuts that we were into at the time. And it just so happened that everybody else's eyes were opened. I didn't know much about the Indian film industry before that project. Oh, wow. I hadn't been brought up watching Hindi movies. This was my first introduction really to the industry. And so I didn't have any preconceived notions, perhaps, and no idea about how people looked before. So it was almost like a clean slate. And we went with what was in our heart. You know, it was about using the script, of course, creating the characters, working with the actors who also were obviously very integral to creating those particular, you know, characters. Sure. And luckily for us, people like Amir, people like Saif, people like Preeti, Akshay, they all were very, very open to what we wanted to do. And that is the biggest thing that I think, that was what made it easy for us to do what we did, because of them, because of their openness.
I think that's very, very important, right? Because if there is somebody who is a specialist in their own field, if they will, like anyone for that matter, if you will try and put your nose into everything, they say that more cooks actually spoil the meal, right? So you have to leave it to the expert. And then I think I'm very glad to hear that they did not rub their intelligence or awareness onto you and then believed completely into the talent.
So, I mean, it's not, I think that everybody has their own idea
Yeah.
about what looks good on them.
But then
And
ultimately leave it on you that, you know what, this is what I think. It's like going to any place, you actually, when you're doing your makeup or in front of makeup artist, you would say, okay, this is how I want, but I leave it on you, because
yeah,
you do a doctor,
yeah,
you don't tell doctor how to do a surgery. You, of course, say, this is what I want.
correct, correct. I mean, you really, when you do people's hair, you really get to know a person within sort of the first 5 to 7 minutes of meeting them, because they talk to you about their hair and they talk to you about their likes and dislikes, or at least that's what we try to extract from somebody,
Sure.
because
Sure.
you actually do only have a short period of time to
Yeah.
understand what does this person want to
Yeah.
do with their hair and how do they want to look. And as a good hairdresser, I think it's important to also understand that once that client leaves your chair, they are going to be managing their hair themselves. You're not there behind them the whole time. So you have to consider what is their lifestyle, what is their, how much time do they have to spend on their hair. With actors, there's another layer that's added to that, because sometimes they're working on more than one project at a time. So you have to also consider that within this haircut shape, can they also achieve that look as well?
Yeah.
Because they're bouncing between two sets, Luckily, Amir Khan in those days was never doing that. He would only work on one project at a time.
Right.
And I think that's why his haircut, out of anybody's haircut, was the most impactful, because he just went all out, no holds barred.
Oh wow, wow. And that was actually something which I was always thinking whenever I've met you or someone who is so phenomenal. You guys always make sure that, to talk to us as a client. And then I always think that, how apart from just talking about somebody's vibe or somebody's mood or character, do you look at the face shape, or do you actually, what's the intuitive process that, okay, this is what will look nice, let's go short, let's go long, because your mantra is never copy and paste, right? So, and you've
Right.
given haircuts to people like hundred times. So I really want to understand that apart from just understanding the personalities, what are like 2, 3 things you notice, and then, you go for it.
So, I mean, this has been like one of the biggest things that I've focused on in training our team. And you visited our salons, so you would know and you would have experienced it firsthand. But a very, very thorough consultation is key to making it work for the person who's sitting in your chair. Yeah. And I'm big on using an open questioning technique, so that you can get as much information as possible from the person who's sitting in your chair. There are many things to consider, lifestyle, and how much time does somebody have to spend on their hair at home is one of the biggest factors, because you can do so much to a person's hair while they're sitting in your salon chair. Yeah. But once they leave your chair and shampoo their hair at home,
Absolutely.
it's on them, and so I'm a firm believer in working with what you have naturally and enhancing that.
Sure.
Because if you try and achieve something that is diametrically opposite from what you have naturally, then it's going to be much more difficult for you to maintain. You'll never like your hair, and you'll probably never go back to the same hairdresser. So, the questions that what, why, when, where, and how are absolutely intrinsic to making sure that you get as much information as possible from your client. one of the big things in India has been the length of the hair.
Mm.
Always a
Yeah.
massive, massive contributory factor, particularly for women.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, we had a bigger male clientele than a female clientele. And I think, strangely, yes. I mean, over the years, that balanced out and probably tipped the scales the other way later on. But in the beginning, I really feel that men were a lot more experimental with their hair than women. I suppose it's easier for them to grow it out also, right? I mean, because it's more short hair that you're dealing with. So
Yeah.
that was something that was unusual. We found it unusual, as you have found it unusual now, but it was a factor to the business in the early days.
Okay.
Women were a lot more hesitant, to come to our salon, because I think I had the reputation that I changed people's hair, which people were a little wary of.
Sure. Sure.
So,
Because
I think it was a bit of a bad reputation, actually, in the early days, which I worked very hard to overcome, because people thought we were very expensive, and people thought that we cut everyone's hair off short, which was not the case at all. But it was just somehow the way the word got out about us.
yeah.
So we had to bust a lot of myths along the way. You know, cutting, copying, and pasting is not something that I would ever want to do. Within our portfolio of work, we have techniques that we can use to cut hair.
Sure.
And there's only literally 3 ways to cut hair, which is one length, graduation, and layering.
Okay.
And it is the combination of these 3 things that you apply to an individual head of hair that gives you the overall finished effect.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, depending on which technique you use on which part of the head, helps to shape and craft the style.
Okay.
And so it is a very, very visual profession, craft, if you like. So you have to understand body proportions, you have to understand facial structure, the bone structure, maybe what the client likes and dislikes about their hair and the way they're presenting themselves. So there's many, 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 many things that you have to take into consideration. And some of those cues are even unsaid, right? Some of those cues are in the body language. Some of those cues are in the way that somebody's hair is when you first meet them. So you can tell a lot about a person when you see what they themselves do with their hair. But it does take a lot of experience to be able to assess that within the first 5 to 7 minutes of meeting a new person.
And I'm sure with the experience, with more haircuts and more experimental sort of experiences, I think you improve. You meaning anyone can improve. It's like a sports person, right? When you start playing and you're born with that talent, but more you practice, you actually polish that even further.
Absolutely. Practice makes not perfect. I mean, we don't necessarily look for perfection. It's often the imperfections that make a fantastic sort of look. But I think practice is one of the key areas of our profession that really make the difference between, sorts out the men from the boys, let's say.
Yes, I totally second that.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Adhuna, every entrepreneurial journey is a zigzag, right? We've already discussed. So can you share like one particular moment, which was like maybe a failed launch, maybe a financial crisis or a personal issue that felt devastating, but actually later that was your biggest teacher and that made you the person who you are?
Yeah, I think one of the things that happened to us, which was pretty devastating at the time, we had, you know how real estate is in Bombay,
Crazy.
crazy. And I'm calling it Bombay. Obviously, it was Bombay then.
It is Bombay
Um,
for me now too.
I know it's very difficult
To say
to
Mumbai.
just, yeah. Um, so So we had this space which we'd made our own, and we'd literally painted the interiors with our own hands and help from some friends, and we'd done everything by ourselves. Basically, that was the budget that we had at the time. You know, we didn't have any money, so we did all of the interiors ourselves. We created this very cool hangout kind of space, which was not very economically viable at the time, but it was, you know, it was just a great hangout space. And we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in that salon. We were shooting for Dil Chahta Hai at the time, and I was not in the country. We were shooting in Australia, and the landlord had told my brother that I've sold the
building.
shop. I've sold the shop.
Oh.
So you have to move out in a month.
Oh my God.
And so that was really traumatic for us because we'd kind of sweat, blood, tears, everything. We'd put everything we had into that. We'd created this space where a lot of people had started to come. A lot of people started to enjoy the space. We had people just coming and hanging out and having coffee. And we used to serve brownies with our coffee at that time. And people used to come just for that, as well as, you know, as well as their hair and consultation. But literally, it had a great vibe. It had a really nice atmosphere. We were very happy. Like I said, it wasn't working out economically because we hadn't done the math on on all of the aspects, but we'd just gone with our gut completely, and it was about creativity. And you know, we were not making much money, but that was not really the point. Back in the day. My brother would disagree, but for me, it was about, you know, people were coming, people were willing to try new things, they were open to change, and it was a great time to be in the industry. Lots and lots of things were happening. Like I said, big corporations had come into India and were kind of opening up the industry, and that was. So there was a buzz around all of it, you know. I think that landlord telling us, it was like, you know, we were like, what are we going to do? We have this whole team of people working with us, and we have nowhere to go and no way of paying them their salary because we're not earning any money.
Sure.
Anyway, long story short, we found another space, but in the interim, there was I don't know if you remember Olive Restaurant. You must remember Olive Restaurant. Yeah. Fantastic crew, fantastic team of people, very, very like-minded, very, very open to new ideas. And we actually did, before pop-ups were a thing, we actually popped up at Olive Restaurant when we didn't have a place to work, because like I said, we had this fabulous team who all stood by us and decided that they were going to stay with us and not look for other jobs. So we had to come up with something. Yeah. So during the day, we would pop up at Olive Restaurant. We'd bring in our salon chairs, we'd bring in mirrors, and we even brought a hair washing station in and out of that space
Oh my
every
God.
single day. So setup was massive. And then at the end of our salon day, we'd clear everything out, and the restaurant and the bar. It was a fab place to hang out as well.
Yes.
But really amazing foresight for the owners and the team who were all part of Olive Restaurant at that time. And it was just an amazing experience. It was a one-off. It was a first, another first that we created. Like I said, it was like a pop-up before pop-ups were even a thing. So that was how we bridged the gap between getting out of that one space that we were working in and finding a new salon space.
Wow, I love that. What a beautiful and inspiring story.
It was a crazy time. I don't think I'd have the energy for that kind of thing anymore.
No,
It was
I
it
hear
was
you.
literally sort of, you know, picking up a salon and putting it in a new space every single day. But like I said, we had a great team of people. We'd built this killer team, and your team. I've always been big on team spirit, and I love working as part of a team. I don't really like working in isolation, and luckily I managed to get a bunch of between my brother and I, we had a bunch of people working with us who were really on the same tip, and that was fantastic.
Wow, I love that because the story actually hit me more because I used to live on Carter Road. So I was very regular to Olive, and especially Thursday nights. But
Yeah.
also about the whole landlord thing, I'll give you a very funny, not so funny actually, incident that I was single when I used to live in Bombay. I'm still single, but in Bombay, they don't really want to give the flats to single girls on rent.
Correct. I've experienced that
It
too.
is,
Yeah.
it is like really awful. It's very, very weird that they would give
Mm,
it to men or they would give it to couples who can do anything to the building, take the building down, but they would not give it to the girls. And
crazy.
just opposite Linking Road on the other side, just behind KFC, I found this flat and I was gonna move into a flat share. And the girl who was in a second room, she was supposed to, I think, move a week later and did the paperwork. The landlord was in Canada and he had given the power of attorney to the secretary of the building and said,
Okay.
"Okay, I'm supposed to, okay, 31st, my contract came to an end in the other apartment. And that time I used to live behind McDonald's on Linking Road. So it was literally across the road. Long story short, with my movers and packers, my friends had come in their cars to like dump my bags and stuff. We reached there and then we are just, offloading everything. My domestic help, everybody was there. We were like at least seven, eight of us. And the secretary who had the power of attorney comes to me and says that there's a problem. And I was like, sorry, what happened? And he's like, you can't move in. And I'm like,
Oh
what?
gosh.
And he goes, yeah, because I'm sorry, I didn't know, but in the resolution and whatever the building MOA or something, we cannot give it to the bachelors. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? He said no, and the broker is also standing. And I'm like, where do I go? I've already given the
My gosh.
that. And here, like these movers and packers guys are looking at me, and it's like a movie scene. I'm not kidding. And they're asking me that should we stop? Should we offload more, or what do we do? And my mom
My
was like,
goodness.
what is going to happen to me? And my friends started telling them that we'll give power of attorney or we'll sign on her behalf. We are a couple. She would not do anything. But he's like, no, but I cannot give. And literally in 2 days' time, my cousin was getting married in Ahmedabad. So I was going to Ahmedabad for 2 weeks. So I literally put the boxes in my friend's flat, bless her, in car. She had one extra room. That room had only boxes. I'm sure she had no place to even breathe. And Bombay, Bombay flats are not like
Yes.
mansions. And the oldest Onyx actually told the secretary that I won't be able to take this out because I had fridge, I had TV, I had everything, air cons, furniture like bed, this, that. So long story short, after 2 weeks of holiday when I came back, along with job, I looked for a flat, and after a month I moved into another place and took all the boxes and everything. So it was one of the worst
Yeah, I mean,
moments.
I lived as a paying guest for many years when I first came to India, and the stories, I mean, there are many stories just like yours, of it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I don't think it's much better now.
No, no, it's not. It's not. It's still the same because I'm still part of a lot of Facebook groups where, flats without
Mm,
brokers and all those, but
mm,
really, really atrocious. But I'm so happy that, you had like great set of friends like me, and then they actually came up with some
yes,
ideas.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And so coming back to BBlunt, you actually sold BBlunt in 2022 to Godrej, which is amazing. I
So no, that wasn't to Godrej at that time. It was um, we didn't sell out to Godrej. We still worked with them.
Okay.
So what we did with Godrej, we actually created a line of products, and the salons was still run and looked after by us,
Okay.
while we worked with them in collaboration to create a line of products. So
Okay.
they invested in us,
Sure.
and we built this line of products together. Later on, we sold our business in 20 this was 2000 2005 or 6 was when we partnered with GCPL,
Okay.
and in 2022 was when we sold our brand BBlunt. That was the product range and everything, products and salons, to Mama Earth.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad.
No.
So, did you, when you were going to Mamaearth in 2022 to sell the entire brand, did you face any gender biases or any those subtle, not so subtle sort of behavior just because you were a woman in the room full of maybe men?
So I think the first time we experienced a big corporation was when we joined, when we sort of worked with GCPL. I'm going a little bit away from 2022 and winding back to the time at GCPL, because one would imagine that you might face those kinds of things with a big corporation. But luckily for us, Nisa Godrej, who was in charge of our sort of brand,
Hmm.
was very ahead of her time, I think. And as a woman entrepreneur herself,
I think like a
was
mother herself, right?
Yes, yes. They, like I said, I think they were very ahead of their time in all kinds of diversity. It's not just about
The gender.
men and women. They've done lots and lots of progressive work with all genders in the workplace,
Sure.
and they've been leaders in the field where that is concerned. And I think that is why I was so happy to work with people like that. So there was never any, I mean, I think hairdressing as an industry is a very open industry.
Yes.
There are people from all walks of life in our world, and that is part of what I love about hairdressing. Because when I was young and I started hairdressing in the UK, I was looking a little different. I was not, your regular English kid.
Right.
I was 16 years old. I had this name that I still possess, which is Adhuna Bhabani, and in the UK, nobody could ever say my name. I looked a certain way,
Sure.
and in the hairdressing industry, when I joined at 16, was the first place that I was really accepted
Hmm.
for being a bit
Who you
different.
are. Yeah.
for being a bit different. In fact, they loved it that you were a bit unique. Whereas in my school years, we'd suffered. My sister and I had been, quite bullied in school for being different. But when I joined hairdressing, it was like all of those things were gone and everyone was so cool and everyone was unique.
Yeah.
There were so many different kinds of people that I worked with. And that was, it was just absolutely delightful, to suddenly sort of, it helped me to also come into myself. In India, I think there is a lot more bias between genders, men and women, I think, than in the UK.
Yeah.
I think the patriarchy is everywhere. However, I do think that it is more prevalent here. But I have been very lucky with the people I've worked with, the circles that I move in, where I've not really had to experience anything that I couldn't handle.
Okay. No, fair enough, and I love that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that, patriarchy exists everywhere, but India has louder expression, and that I also see while I work in the UK and I live in the UK, and I totally resonate to what you're saying. So I want to move from BBlunt to your latest new baby, which not actual baby, but your new line, which is Gutsy, which you started 2 years ago as a premium gut health brand.
Yeah.
What was the decision from, being an owner of such an iconic salon chain or a styling business to a nurturing digestion? And is there any like surprising connection between the scalp and gut, basically, which people should know about?
So it's interesting that you make that connection because the term that I've coined is that now I've been making people look good from the outside and now I'm making people feel good from the inside. So from the inside out is how I'm trying to kind of look at it. Working in what happened when we sold our business in 2022, I had to sign a non-compete contract. Okay. So for 3 years, I couldn't really work in hairdressing, which was the only thing I've known for all my life. But I wanted to honor that. And my partner, Nicolo, is in hospitality. He's been working in hospitality for his whole career and the food industry. So it was his sort of brainchild. Okay. He decided that he wanted to do this, and he'd been in other businesses earlier, but he was making a fresh start in his business. And so we decided to work together on that, because I was also in a position where I couldn't really work within my own industry. Sure. And I had many years of experience building a brand. And so we felt that we could, both work together and create a new brand. Sure. And where I lacked in experience in the food industry, he had that sort of skill set on his side. We started actually making and experimenting with this at the sort of the fag end of lockdown. And, we started experimenting with Greek yogurt. Okay. And it was literally just out of our own kitchen at home, making the products, and friends trying it out, giving it to friends. That was our market research. Right. and so a lot of people gave us very, very positive feedback. And we did it really just for fun in the beginning, and then decided to really try and take it to the next level. So it's been the last couple of years that we've been really seriously working at it. Sure. And we sort of we've put our whole selves into it. We've put everything that we, have into it again, to create this new brand.
Yeah.
And Gutsy is a product that is obviously contains prebiotics, probiotics. It's good for your gut. And as we all are starting to learn and understand that your gut really does reflect on your overall health, what's happening in your gut is a reflection of your overall health and sort of influences, I should say, your overall health. So lots of work to be done. Lots of things we have lots of ideas that we want to try out, and we are growing the brand. It's been growing quite steadily now over the past 2 years. We've recently introduced in June last year, so it's a year now, a frozen yogurt, which is the product actually that allows us to take it little farther and wider, because it's frozen and it has a longer shelf life than the pure Greek yogurt. When we designed the Greek yogurt, we said we were going to keep it completely artisanal. We're not adding any additives, preservatives. It's completely natural. We served it in a glass bottle, and we wanted it to be so very close to nature. And unfortunately, that doesn't work when you want to try and take it farther and wider. So we're keeping it as a niche product. People love it, but the shelf life is about 7 to 10 days. So we can only do that in and around Bombay right now. But essentially, we'd like to take the brand pan-India, and we are currently looking for partners who we can work with to kind of help us take it to the next level. So, anybody out there who's of like-minded,
I was about to say that. You never know.
It's been really fun to do. I feel very a little bit proud of myself when I think about how I've been able to apply what I've learned in developing a hairdressing brand to any other brand, actually, because there are so many things that are relevant, and one of the things that I sort of learned was to work with people who have different skill sets, so that you as a collective have the whole package.
Absolutely. And you've also and you've also mentioned that motherhood also changed you as a leader, and it had a very profound psychological impact which you have sort of learned in your leadership. So apart from just working with a very different sort of skill set people, I think you have derived that also. If you can just maybe share any particular tip or anything with all the aspiring entrepreneur or women out there who are actually thinking of taking like a big plunge or maybe that risk, but they are still holding themselves back.
So, I think as a word of advice, I always feel like you need to be prepared to take risks. As a parent, one of the things that really sort of I've kept in my heart, and I think it's something that I've applied to every relationship. And there is this beautiful quote from Maya Angelou, which goes, "They will forget what you said and they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel."
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful kind of mantra to live by, because you can apply it to parenting. You can apply it to your personal relationships, friendships, client relationships, business, friends, everywhere. True. And I actually take pride in trying to live by that. I don't know if my partner would agree that I stick to it all the time, or my brother. But in the world of in the service industry, and in hairdressing particularly, where you are in such close proximity with another human being. We're one of the few industries, the beauty industry is one of the few industries where you are allowed into the personal space of another human being. Besides the medical profession, I don't know if there is any other profession besides the beauty and wellness profession who are allowed into that personal space. So that needs to be honored. That needs to be really sort of treated in a special way, I believe. And which is why this quote by Maya Angelou has always been part of my training program, and something that I did also try and adopt as a parent as well, because there are so many things that happen when you're parenting. I really believe that my children taught me so much about myself, actually, which maybe I had not seen before. Maybe it's an age, maybe it's a stage of life. I'm not quite sure what I put it down to, but I continue to learn from them today. They're older, wiser. I'm older and becoming a little bit batty.
You're not. Come on.
Eccentric. I want to be eccentric.
But I think learn and grow, right? We're not the same version. It's such a shame.
Absolutely, absolutely, and the gems that I get from my children right now are, I love it. I absolutely, I value every single minute with them, because I'm learning up not only about them but about myself, and that's what motherhood has been for me.
Okay.
And
yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, just very, very special indeed.
And any women who are listening today, if they're feeling overwhelmed, if they're feeling stuck in any entrepreneurial journey, or they're feeling that they're not being successful, what is that one piece of unconventional advice, just apart from making everyone feel kind? What would you tell them to get up this morning or next morning and the next morning after that to chase their dreams?
Just to go with your gut, just to really follow your heart, and don't be afraid to take risks.
Yeah, I think that sums it up, right? I mean,
yeah,
is something which because we don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work. So how do you know? So I work in investments, and there is always a saying that high risk, high return. So in equity markets, when we invest, we always say that if there is no high risk, there's no high return. So
right.
that I also swear by. And on that note,
similarly in life, exactly.
in life, absolutely. And on that note, I'm not going to let you go without the rapid fire questions, because I want to pick your brains for anything and everything around hair, because this is a brilliant opportunity. So I'm going to ask some questions, and you can come up with very instantly whatever comes to your mind. Don't overthink. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. So what is one thing Liverpool give you, because you grew up in Liverpool? What is the one thing that city give you which no other city can?
I think the spirit of a Liverpudlian is unmatched. We are fearless. I think we approach things with this kind of a spirit of loving life. I think that's what I took away from Liverpool.
Okay, love that. What totally blew your mind when you started understanding the Indian hair care habits when you first moved to Bombay?
Everything blew my mind. I think there was one thing that I was fascinated by, which I'd never come across before, and that was this concept of perming the hair on the ends only.
Okay.
And And I'd never come across that before till I came to India. So that was I think that was probably one of the things that stays clearest in my mind of being a very different approach.
Okay. Any latest hair trend like hair Botox or anything? You can give your views or suggestions.
Any latest trends in the sense?
In like people are doing hair Botox. I've never got it done, but
Okay, we can't associate me with BBlunt anymore because I'm no longer part of the team.
no, it's
Okay.
not.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose I'll always be the founder. So it's no hair trends. I actually wish people wouldn't follow trends. I wish people would be open to kind of working with or doing things that work for them as an individual. So while I think it's important to understand and to have an awareness of fashion and fashion trends, I actually believe that you should set your own trends.
Okay. Okay.
So hair Botox, things like chemical straightening, which was a massive fad for many years. All of these kinds of things I feel are, they're faddish.
Sure.
And I believe where hair's concerned, I believe that if you work with what's happening naturally, it'll always be easier to manage for yourself. If you try and achieve something that's, the opposite of what you have naturally, then it's always going to be a big maintenance job.
Touche, touche. One self-care routine or ritual you swear by.
So I'm not big on rituals. I think one of the things that people sort of forget to do is condition their hair. And I think that's something that I think is very important. The job of a conditioner is to protect and close down the cuticle so their hair is protected. A lot of people skip that step in their hair care routine, and I wish they didn't.
Okay. What would you tell Adhuna, who is 16 years old, if you'll meet her in Liverpool today?
Just take risks. Don't be afraid. Go with your gut. That's obviously become my new catchphrase. Go with your gut.
Yes. Sum up the gut health in 3 words.
Gut health in 3 words. Gut health is wealth. That's 4 words.
No.
Gut health is wealth.
Very, very, very true.
Yeah.
Scalp oiling, which is a very Indian tradition, is it ancient wisdom, or you think that that's really not really that great?
This is a massive one for me. I'm not going to be able to answer this in a quick sentence. When I first came to India, I found the concept of oiling hair to be nice, the actual experience, the massage of the scalp, all lovely. But what I found with the oils that were being used, and let's not forget that this is over 30 years ago, the oils that were being used were very thick and very heavy, and they would like stick in the hair. So you had to shampoo the hair so aggressively to remove that oil out that it was like almost all the benefits were washed away down the sink. Right.
Understood.
But I think oils have evolved so much over the years. The beauty business has evolved. Ingredients have changed over the years, and there's so much more now available in the market. So I don't think it's an old wives' tale. I do think there is wisdom in using hair oil as a product. And I'll tell you a very funny story that happened just 2 days ago. So I've always been an advocate for professional use products and don't do home treatments. And, because that's my background, that's my training, that's what I've always known. But coming to India, I've obviously been exposed over the years to a lot more products which are closer to nature. And I like it. I enjoy, I like the idea of behind that. I also like the fact that, it's kinder to nature. So that is how I try to steer myself now, and the choices that I make for myself. But my daughter had a conversation with me literally 2 days ago saying, "Oh, I've just used, I'm not going to say the name, but X oil, which is like a very popular oil here, on my hair and scalp. And guess what? My hair feels amazing." So I was like, "What?" So I made her explain everything to me, what she'd done step by step.
Yeah.
And she said, "Mom, my hair's just feeling so good." So now I'm convinced about the wisdom in that. And like I told you, I learn so much every day from my children. This is like the opposite of what I've been taught.
Yes.
And it just shows you that you have to remain in openness. You have to remain open to everything and to new ideas and to old traditions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of that, any DIY hair hack or any mask you would recommend apart from oiling?
So I'm about to explore this. This is new. I've not done it yet, but I am about to explore this in a big way. The benefits of yogurt in your hair.
Okay, amazing. And any tips for hair fall or frizziness? And this especially for myself because London water has made my hair like this, so frizzy. And of course, a hair fall is almost every girl's problem.
So when you say hair fall is almost every girl's problem, I experience it myself as well. And I had always, all my life, worn my hair quite short, right? Until the last few years. I think the first time I grew my hair long was during lockdown when I couldn't get to anybody to get my hair cut. And I'm not very good at, I don't really like cutting my hair myself, apart from at the front, because you cannot really see the back.
Yeah.
So what I realized is that when your hair is longer, the hair fall is the same, but it feels like it's so much more because each hair is so much longer. So I always have had my clients in my chair telling me, "Oh, I'm losing so much hair, I'm losing so much hair." And so many people during lockdown, because I think everybody was doing their own sweeping and swabbing in their houses, that they realized how much hair fall they had. So there is an average for amount of hair fall for everyone per day, which is almost up to 100, 150 hairs. Now, nobody really understands the intensity of that when you've got short hair. But when you have long hair, that feels like a heck of a lot. And I experienced that myself. Like now when I have shampoo my hair was down here.
Okay.
1 month ago, and I'd grown it during lockdown as well, and I don't like long hair on myself. But again, one reason or the other, I wasn't able to get to Arvan, who usually cuts my hair, so I let my hair grow, and I was seeing all this hair fall. So I think we have to get it into perspective, right? First of all, you are what you eat. We know this. We know about a healthy, balanced diet, and, drinking the right amount of water every day. These are the basics of a healthy, balanced lifestyle, right? And that also does affect your hair. Your hair really reflects what you are, what's happening inside you very often. And so if your hair's healthy, shiny, doing what you want it to do, it means you're probably healthy on the inside.
Sure.
If your hair's looking a little dry, brittle, it's not performing the way, it's greasy, or whatever it is, it's sort of a reflection of what's happening inside. There might be something that's changed.
Okay.
There might be something. There are a couple of questions that I would normally ask somebody who feels like they've got a lot of hair fall. One is, have you had a dramatic change in your diet?
Okay.
If yes, then that could affect it.
Mm-hmm.
Any strong medication that you're taking for certain illnesses, like particularly, like a jaundice or a very sort of, jaundice is I think that there's a certain medication that they give for jaundice, which is quite aggressive and creates hair fall. So there are some medications that can be related to hair fall. And there are some, and there are also, it's lifestyle. So if you haven't had any of these significant changes, also, do you see a lot of hair on your pillow when you wake up in the morning?
Okay.
So these, if you do, then I think it's maybe you can start to seek professional advice. A trichologist is the person that I would speak to. I'm not really qualified to diagnose hair fall and the causes of hair fall, but I am there and able to guide you this far, by saying, are these things there? Are these things happening to you? Then maybe you should speak to somebody who's a professional in that. So the frizziness, the hair fall, these are things that can be due to climatic conditions, at least the frizziness for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that there are products, oils, techniques that you can use and employ to tone these down or to smoothen them out. But it's not a one size fits all remedy. And everybody is individual and everyone's is different. So it is often a matter of trial and error, I'm afraid to say. So taking recommendations from professionals or from friends who have had the same kind of issues. But you are unique, and what works for one may not work for you. Yeah. And so if there's a smoothening product that helps to control the frizz, maybe you could try 2 or 3 of them before you come upon the one that you really like. So it is about, you can't just expect it to magically disappear. You have to put in some effort as well. And I do think that climatic conditions, your lifestyle, and how many hours of sleep you get, these are the main contributory factors.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the climate we cannot do much about. It is what it is, and we are where we are. And my hair behaves brilliantly in the UK and not so brilliantly here in the moist, dampness of Bombay. Yeah. So I hope that helps you.
It does. It was amazing to actually hear all of that. I'm just gonna ask one brand apart from BBlunt, if you can give your favorite shampoo brand or the shampoo you use.
So since I have been out of the industry for the last 3 years, I've been experimenting with different products.
Okay.
And I've been trying to go to products that are more natural.
Okay.
But the one brand whose products that I really like is Davines.
Okay.
I don't know whether you've worked with those or used those products. So I like the Davines products. And there's a few specific products from Wella that are more close to nature and that they've developed over the last few years that I really like as well.
Okay. So any conditioner brand or any from Wella or Davines?
I think again, both those companies have products that are suitable to all different hair types. So again, it's about finding the one that works for you. It looks to me like you've got medium density hair, and you're saying it's frizzy. I'm not seeing the frizz actually right now.
I've done
You've done some straightening, yeah. So it's about finding the right thing, and I think with product is also about where you put it on your hair, right? Because a lot of people will take a product and they'll rub it in their hands and they'll go plonk right on the top, and that's not where you really need it.
No.
The older hair, the hair that's been through more wear and tear and been exposed, the middle lengths and ends of the hair are where you need to add moisture, nourishment, hydration,
Okay. Oh,
and drink lots of water.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
Adhuna, thank you so much. This was just lovely. Thank you for sharing your journey. And this is a brilliant reminder that success is not just following your path, this is actually a reminder that, having a courage to carve your own actually unapologetically takes you where you are today. So thank you so much. And to all the listeners, it doesn't matter where you're born. You can be born somewhere, but you can make your home somewhere else. And you don't have to chase the trends. You can set them. So find your unique flair, own your story, and trust the power of your vision like Adhuna, because the darlings, you are a force. And this is not just a podcast, it's a virtual therapy, it's a salon makeover, and it's a coffee date. So sculpt your destinies and make every strand of your journey count. So until next time, stay beautiful and stay powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to You Are a Force. Hit subscribe and join us next week for more powerful stories from women rewriting the rules. Until then, keep building, keep leading, and remember, you are a force.